I'm Allison, and this is my dog, and we live in a tiny house, in an even tinier trailer, traveling the country, taking hikes, and this week, we're looking back at a week of hiking in Glacier National Park, from the empty footpaths of Upper Lunch Creek to the tourist superhighways of Logan Pass and Avalanche Lake, to the destinations that make you work for them, like Haystack, Butte, and Grinnell Glacier. First, let's show and state the obvious. Logan Pass is very busy. If you want some tips for getting a parking spot, check out my last video about driving going to the Sun Road. But the Reader's Digest version is that the most popular hiking trails in Glacier, which is most of them, fill up fast, and these first two are no exception. From the Logan Pass parking lot, we hiked up to the Hidden Lake Overlook and the Highline Trail to Haystack Butte. Let's start with the most popular first. It's a 3-mile hike to the Hidden Lake Overlook and back to the Logan Pass parking lot. Hidden Lake itself, which adds another couple miles to visit up close, is closed periodically, including right now, to allow for grizzlies to fish without being bothered by tourists. Well, I did see a grizzly and 2 cubs way up on the hills above the overlook. I also saw a herd of bighorn sheep and a couple of mountain goats up close. Very up close. This hike probably has the most visitors of any other trail in the park due to its accessibility. There's a boardwalk almost the whole way up, and it's a-okay for hikers of all ages and skill levels. And like any other hike in Glacier, the best time to see wildlife is around dawn and dusk. But if you're looking to roam fields of wildflowers, this is not the place to do it. Hikers are not allowed off the trail here. Also starting at Logan Pass is the popular Highline Trail, which is your route into several other, much more advanced hikes in Glacier. This time I hiked the Highline Trail to Haystack Pass and then the Haystack Butte Trail midway up the Butte for about an 8-mile round trip and 1,600 feet of elevation gain in about 3 hours. Now the Highline Trail turns into a real bear right off the bat, with a rocky cliff that sends stones plummeting toward going to the Sun Road when you step near the edge. There are handy rope holds for the steepest and narrowest portion, but I watched several people learn on this day for the first time that they were in fact afraid of heights. After you pass the drama of the first couple miles, the crowds disperse a little, or at least spread out. You'll have a view of the west side of the park most of the way up, and a pretty thrilling view of the road and Logan Pass from the Butte and on the way back down. And about that Butte, Haystack Butte, once you reach Haystack Pass, isn't a very popular route, and that's probably for a good reason. It's steep, gaining several hundred feet in a half a mile, and it's often hard to find your way both across the meadow to its base and hard to find the cairns marking the faint foot trail up. Oh, this ain't it. We're not going out of here in a helicopter today. Not that anyone would ever find me up here. Yeah, how about we not? Nope, turning around. I didn't go all the way to the top as I was all alone, and I forgot to tell anyone where I was going that morning, but it was also beautiful enough to make turning around a difficult decision and worth even the failed attempt. Trekking poles would have been helpful for finishing this route, but I made do as long as I could until it felt unsafe to continue. Avalanche Lake is on the west side of Glacier, with a parking area off going to the Sun Road. And that sucker was almost full when I pulled up to start my hike at 6 a.m. sharp. Again, the trail is only about 6 miles round trip with a modest, gradual elevation gain and wide, mostly rock-free trail so its accessibility makes it popular with families with children of all ages. It doesn't have the sweeping, dizzying views that some of Glacier's other hikes have, but it does have a river along most of the trail, and of course the lake. I hung out in the cold for a while and watched the sunrise over the rim of the lake basin, so a 2-hour hike really turned into a 4-hour expedition for me. Start this trail in the dark or in the evening to avoid the worst of the crowds. Moving to the east side of the park now, I took a quick 2.5-mile jaunt up Lunch Creek on the suggestion of my neighbor at camp, who recommended it for the wildflowers, and his advice did not disappoint. Lunch Creek is much steeper than the hikes we've talked about so far, gaining about 1,000 feet in a hair over a mile. But the good news is that most people don't hike the trail beyond the first waterfall. I did this trail in the evening, a couple hours before sunset, and this was the only time I saw nobody the entire hike, except for these guys. These guys are just watching me, daring me to use their trail. Look at them. They know I can't get by. This is their trail. I don't know if they want me to use it. Just kind of perched over here watching, but I think they've moved enough. I might try to scooch by them. Let's give it a try. Thank you, sir. Pardon me, sir. If the bighorn allow it, you'll hike up the creek basin, up the rocks around the waterfall, and up to a sweeping meadow where you'll get a bit of a view, lots of wildflowers in the summer, and a few more curious friends. This is my new friend. He's sitting on the trail with me, just hanging out, watching the sunset. In my opinion, Grinnell Glacier is the mother of all hikes in Glacier National Park. And you don't even have to get on Going to the Sun Road and therefore make a reservation to get there. But you'll still want to start early. The trailhead parking lot is filled by 7 a.m. most days. Despite its 11.5-mile length and over 2,000 feet of elevation gain, the views this hike promises inspire hundreds to at least attempt this trail every day. You will work hard, but it will be worth every step. The trail starts slow with a meander through a thick forest, winding around your first lakes, Swift Current Lake and Lake Josephine. But then the trail begins rising above Lake Josephine and climbing steady the rest of the way to the top, soaring above the third lake, Grinnell Lake. You'll have one of the most stunning views across your shoulder the entire climb. If you start early, look to those lakes below to spot an occasional moose or bear in the water. After you've climbed high above the lakes, and as you're making your way across the rock field before the final ascent to the glacier, you'll come to one of my favorite, but one of the most feared parts of the trail, the waterfall crossing. All right, here we go. Well, I'm gonna be squishy for the rest of the day. Kinda like to see these people behind me do it. People down here just laughed at me, and now they're putting on their rain shells. There's no other way. Just like Iceland, huh? Iceland buddies? My feet got a bit wet, but not squishy, and the parts of me that did get soaked felt great because of the climbing July temperatures. Now, in the last week of July, when I did this trail, it was hot enough by about 9 a.m. that I was almost totally dry from my little shower by the time I got to the glacier, which is important because it's very cold and can be very windy up there. If you get a late start on this trail, bringing extra water and sunscreen becomes much more important because the trail is exposed almost the whole way to the top. It took me 3 hours to get to the top and 2 to get back down, and I'm a pretty fast hiker. As the first person up and first person down that morning, I fielded a lot of questions from tired tourists on my way back. What did they ask? Mostly, is it worth it? My answer, yes, absolutely yes. It is impossible to overstate the awesomeness of this trail. Even if it's the hardest trail you've ever done, if you're prepared with sturdy boots, water, and food, yes, finish it even if you don't want to. You will not regret it. I did this trail on my birthday, and I ended the day with so much more to celebrate than when I started. Thanks for hiking Glacier with me. Whatever hike you choose and whomever you choose to hike with, or without, you'll have a great time even if there's a crowd and a little, or maybe a lot, of wildfire smoke. I had the most fun hiking Glacier when I got up early to beat the crowd and to see wildlife and sunrises, and when I stayed up late to beat the crowd and see wildlife and sunsets. I'm also glad I brought a bear bell and bear horn, and the park also recommends carrying bear spray. I give myself more time than I think I need, bring more food than I think I need, drink more water than I think I need, and pack more layers than I think I need. All right, here we go, back at the waterfall. Morning. Okay. Hi.
Hi. You have to go back to it?
Here we go. Feels better on the way down.